So we've got a microphone. If there's any questions, feel free to ask any questions you have. I mean, this is about solutions, you guys. So if there's any questions, you want to know more about a group, what's been done, any ideas, I mean, by all means, we have a mic there. Cal will run around, just put your hand up and he'll come to you and ask the questions.
Okay, usually you get to listen to me talk. I'm the mic guy.
Thanks, Cal. Brian Roberts, president of the Rocky Motorcycle Club. Question for the fellow down at the end of the table. On that survey, who can fill that out? Can anybody fill that out? Is it open to the world, or is it just Albertans that can put input in on that?
Yeah, no, the survey is open. There's no control of that regard. So again, I've heard your comment here in regards to who should comment, but right now it's an open web survey. Well, all I can offer everybody is, in the past when we've done these surveys, and again, until this closes, I won't be able to tell you with any definitive answer, but historically, in the last two circumstances when we've done these surveys, the responses have been very much Alberta-based. You can just tell by the responses. They're quite clear. But again, I can inquire into that most certainly.
So just for a question for Jason there. I'm Jonathan Schultz, president of the Toyota Ghost Wheelers Club. I hate to say it, but let's say that with the trend that the government set with the Castle area, with saying they do all the consultations, let's say it gets closed down, will the coming in government, if you guys are elected, reverse these changes?
So it's tough to fully answer that question, not knowing exactly what they may or may not do. But our intent would be exactly what I said, that we could continue to preserve our West Country while we're utilizing it as both a recreation and economic resource. We believe that that's the model that works elsewhere in the province. That doesn't mean that we don't think things should not be done. But you know, I think the Eastern Slopes is one of my favorite examples that I use on this. You know, as a Yaw attendant guy for many years. You know, the government couldn't make that work. They shut her down. It still didn't work. And then when we went back to the people that use it and actually care about it, now we have a great recreation resource that's working well for our province. So, you know, the one interesting thing about this process is because it can primarily be done in cabinet. That puts the next government in a tremendously positive spot to do it. You know, the issue is how much time has gone by and all that. Luckily, we're close to an election. I will say one other thing on that, too, to take some hope in this. This is the only hope I saw in the budget today. You know, about $100 billion in debt we're headed towards right now. It's a real mess. So why this current government's even talking about this? Because they can't afford to pay for their own electricity bills right now in Edmonton, let alone open a park.
Next question.
If you look at the 2016 grizzly bear plant study that was redone, it is now, out of the 7 grizzly bear management areas, there is increase in population in all areas. A great population to a point where it could be managed. They need to maintain a survey, and it is now a proven fact. Gordon Stenhouse has said that the grizzly bears outside of the parks, outside of Banff and Jasper, are bigger, more prolific, and are a better animal, bigger, more, and they prefer, what do they prefer? They prefer our cut blocks, our roads to go in and to get our resources. So what we've done, we've actually increased the habitat for the grizzly bear. And he's done wonderful. So I think as Albertans, we should be looking at how well we do things and tell people who want to tell us how to do things that we are good at what we do. Sorry.
That deserves a round of applause. Look, I could not agree more. First of all, Albertans need to make the determination about what happens with our landscapes. And further to that, what works for Canmore is probably not going to work for Rocky Mountain House. And so we need to talk to the communities that utilize these spaces. They need to be in the driver's seat. I strongly believe that. I also really think it was important what you said. We need to celebrate the things that we've gotten right. We need to celebrate what's happened with the Eastern Slopes. We need to celebrate the great work that these volunteers have been doing, maintaining these trails and maintaining these landscapes. We need to look at what's already working and then help those people keep doing the good work that they're doing. I will trust you every day to run what's back there over top of a bureaucrat or a politician. I promise you that, and we will keep bringing that message.
This message is for the ADM. My name is Corey Christoph. I own and operate an outfitting business in Nordegg. I'm a member of the Alberta Professional Outfitters Society. I sit on the board of directors there also. Also a member of the Alberta Outfitters Association with the commercial trail ride industry. And my question to you is the current government considering this a public consultation session? Or are you going to plan your own public consultation sessions and consult with the stakeholders, gather that information, take it back to the current government, and provide us with a timeline on when you are going to accept these recommendations by to make a decision on?
I think, as I said earlier, I don't consider this a consultation session. For me, I consider this a listening session. I'm here to listen. What I laid out on the screen, though, in regards to the survey process, that is a form of consultation. We're asking for your feedback and input. So again, we'll take that input, we'll assemble a draft plan based on that, and then we'll come out again seeking input. But again, if you have other sessions like this where you want us to come and talk or listen, I'll give you my phone number and just call me.
Thank you. Cal?
We have a follow-up question.
Excuse me for my concerns on that there, sir, but it's just become recent knowledge for a lot of us that the current government is misled, on the fact that there has been consultation sessions already held, and in fact that you guys are basing some of the decisions that are going forward on, false information that has been provided, to the current government. So what I'm asking is, instead of just a generic email or something on Facebook or a questionnaire sent out, direct consultation with the stakeholders, to the people that have their livelihoods invested in this, the OHV societies, the outfitter societies, all of these people want a more direct contact. And pardon for lack of better words, but this Mickey Mouse process that we're watching that's going on with the current government is very unacceptable.
Well, just one other point is, our deputy minister actually came out and went to Nordegg and came here to Rocky Mountain House. We just changed deputy ministers a day ago.
I was at that meeting with the deputy minister. I was actually on an invite phone call of this meeting back in December.
Okay. I'm just stating a fact.
Which at the time was Andre Corbould, which I understand is now no longer in the deputy minister's position.
That's correct.
Correct?
Yeah.
Just so everybody's aware, Andre Corbould is no longer the deputy minister for AEP.
Yeah.
The new deputy ministers, their names have not been released. Is that correct?
No, it's publicly released. Eric Denhoff is the new deputy minister of Alberta Environment and Parks, and Andre Corbould is now the deputy minister of Agriculture and Forestry. Yes. So with this particular meeting that was called in Nordegg, unfortunately, at that particular time, really there was very minimal information was transferred to him. He indicated at that time that he was going to return to Nordegg to do a consultation with the people, the residents, and the stakeholders and everything that live there. That has not yet happened at all. There's been minimal return information from that office, even to the Nordegg Chamber of Commerce. So there has been no consultation with the stakeholders on this. Another thing, you did indicate that you've been having conversations and meetings with the First Nations people. Yep. Okay.
we live out there. We talk to these people. They're our neighbors. They're our friends. We play hockey with them on Saturdays. When we have discussions with them, there has been, according to them, there's no consultation with the First Nations that's been going on. It's not open. This process is not transparent. And we are trusting on our MLA sitting up there, Jason Nixon, is going to hold you guys to transparency.
No, and that's fine. Just if I can, I'd like to chat with you at the end of this, because I'd like to find out what promises our deputy perhaps made in regards to sending information back or talking when he was here in December. I wasn't at that meeting, but I'd like to hear from you what was promised.
Okay, thanks. Jason wants to respond to that.
I'll just be real quick. I don't want to monopolize the time. And again, I really respect the ADM for being here, so I don't want to sound like I'm ragging on him, because I'm not. But if you could take the message back to your department, I've been taking it to Edmonton as well. I don't know the communities that the minister comes from, but the community that I come from, consultation is not invite-only meetings with select people. And we expect people to come here and talk to them.
Okay, thanks. Okay, thanks. Go ahead, Jerry.
My name is Jerry Bidluck. I'm from St. Paul, and every day I drink the water from the North Saskatchewan River, because that's our water source there. And in no way do we feel jeopardized about the water quality because of the responsible use by the volunteers and the people that do come on the eastern slopes in this region and use it properly. My grandson here is Lucas. His name, he's 13 years of age, and I think from about the age of 6 or so, he's been, maybe even earlier, has been 5, 4, 3. My daughter is correcting me. Him and his family have been enjoying the area west of Caroline 6, 10 times a year, every year. I'm here to help to our government, perhaps, and the people here to recognize the value to families and the quality of life that comes with enjoying the backcountry in our eastern slopes, just as Lucas and his family have, and certainly appreciate every opportunity I get to catch up with them as well. I know several other people, and they have friends that have come out just as well, and are very respectful of what they have to enjoy here. I'd like to thank Mr. Nixon for what I've heard at the legislature, holding the government's feet to the fire, and I got to say your comments are bang on about the importance to municipalities and the people of this region. I think it's, I have been involved somewhat with the Lower Athabasca land use framework plan or process, and one thing I did see happen was very similarly, the RAC goes ahead and supplies recommendations. There's a draft plan comes out. There's a voting process. And what did happen was that government listened to a group of people, just like I've heard present here, intently, and put things aside and stopped the process momentarily to recognize the importance to the local community and to the people that actually use it the most and benefit by it the most. Economy is a huge deal in rural Alberta. We're lacking a lot of economy in Alberta, and I think it's so darn important that has to be honored. So having a general process where people can come out and vote, and you don't even know who they are, and know that 1 million people from Edmonton or Calgary can be impacted by the propaganda of social media and the fear-mongering that might go about with water quality and how all these horrible people are doing horrible things to the water in Alberta, certainly can sway the vote. We see it every day in every election that we've seen in the last 3 or 4 years about the impact of that propaganda machine. So it scares the crap out of us. But my question then for the ADM, and forgive me, I didn't get your name, Rick, is this government, is this land use secretariat that's driving this process looking seriously about the impact and the value of these local votes and the people here significantly in any way, shape, or form more relevantly than what they get from the mass numbers from outside of this area?
Yeah, Absolutely, and just as an example, when I spoke earlier about kind of looking at the economics, if you will, we know that this area is very much recreational based, but also natural resource based, forestry, oil and gas, grazing. So when we look at this region, we look at all of those different drivers and completely understand, as an example, the forest sector here and the importance to the community of Sundre. If you were to suddenly say, okay, let's kind of stop the forest sector, we don't need them anymore. Well, that community's got a mill there. There's a lot of people who work there. Their lives and their families depend on those mills. We take all that into consideration because even to be fair to industry, you know, there's multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar investments in those types of industries that you can't simply just go, well, I'm going to change the land use tomorrow and they can go away. We have to consider all of those things. Those are very important factors.
I have to ask then, how was it that Castle got trodden over so dynamically without respect for the impact to those municipalities and their economy? And those people weren't even consulted. They were told when it happened, after it happened, and we're all pretty clear that how do you restore that confidence in what's going to happen with this process when we've seen the history not very long ago that really dynamically is putting some negative impact in that community?
Well, the one thing in this case is, in the Castle decision, the South Saskatchewan Regional Plan was already in place. In this case, we have no regional plan. So we have the ability right now to use the regional planning process to describe that blueprint. What do we want? So it's not done yet. So we all have the ability to input and work on that.
If I recall, though, this South Saskatchewan regional plan was changed by this government to accommodate their whims or their initiative to close so much use.
And it's a fair comment because, as I mentioned earlier, a regional plan is a document approved by Cabinet. So Cabinet has the power to influence change. They do.
I certainly hope for a better, more balanced process in consideration for the people that's really going to affect for the future. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. If I could just add to something, Jerry and I go back a long way. We've seen, I'm familiar with the process in the Lower Athabasca, and to build on what the gentleman in the back said is that, we've been involved in these plannings myself for more than 10 years, and generally there's a plan comes, people are consulted before the plan comes out. And this government has flipped it around. There's a plan comes out and then we're all chasing it to change something that we should have had input in to start. And if Rick could take something back to Edmonton, that's where the fear and mistrust is coming from, because that's what we see different from before. That's what I see different. That's what Jerry sees different. That's what anybody that's been involved in the land use plan framework sees different. Is it's flipped around and we're chasing the tail, and it should be the other way around. And I think that's a clear takeaway to the ADM that's what the people of this community want.
Ian Stewart, Alberta Fish and Game Association. Question to the ADM, and you've kind of answered it, but certainly we've heard a lot about the mistrust versus what happened in the Castle, and it's very well founded because the groups that were opposed to the creation of the park were completely shut out. The announcement, people like Y2Y were informed well in advance. Groups like the AFGA found out about it the night before, and the plan did change. You referenced earlier the work that's gone into the South Saskatchewan Regional Plan, and I'm sure you're probably familiar with the media release from Yellowstone to Yukon that said this advice was given to a previous government and does not reflect the output of most Albertans about the importance of parks, wildlife, and water, says Stephen Legault, Program Director at Yellowstone to Yukon Conservation Initiative, March 8th. So my question is, how much credibility do these people actually have with the government?
I can only speak for myself as the Stewardship Commissioner, but as I said in my slide presentation, we take all input equally. So again, even the maps that were shown earlier, if Y2Y wants to put out a map that suggests a particular option, I would just as equally want to see a map that you would put out as an option. So again, I can't control what they say on their website or their view. Their suggestion that they speak for all Albertans, that might be their point of view, but I'm in a room full of Albertans right now, and I'm here to listen to them.
Yeah, if I could just add something to that is from the Alberta Off-Highway perspective, we'd love to have the chance to meet with the government and show them what we want. We haven't had that opportunity yet. That's what we're still waiting for.
It has to be said. When Y2Y and CPAWS are walking out of the minister's office constantly, and I'm getting called by every municipality, every stakeholder group in here, they can't get a meeting with the government, then I'm sorry, but not all Albertans are having their voices heard with this government. So please take that back.
Yeah, the Alberta Off-Highway we had a 45-minute meeting with the minister in September of 2016, and we have had no communication since, so thank you. Next question.
My name's Leonard Claffey. I'm from the Drayton Valley area, and this question is to the ADM. In your presentation earlier, you made a comment that the RAC proposal was not the government's, and yet directly it stated there was 27 people appointed. So is that appointed by the government, or was it a random sampling of people? I'd like to know where the area those people were. Were the Alberta Fish and Game included in there? APOS, Safari Club International, the national or the energy sector included? Who was all in there and appointed to that? Because they're stating that now the public consultation is coming in place to talk through the government, through the website, about what we see on that. And yet at the same time, it also stated in your presentation that you're going to make a decision in May on that. I was actually part of a park that was formed in the Drayton Valley area. It was surprised on me because I was the president of the Archery Association out there, which we had a lease inside. We accidentally were given a letter stating that all of a sudden we were going to be inside of a park in our lease. But we contravened the shooting sport of the ability to have it inside of a park. 7 years it took a consultation before a management plan was put in place to look after that. You're pushing it through. We haven't even seen the RAC, and you're going to have consultation and put it in place in May? Give me a break. Albertans can't do it that fast.
No. Just from a timeline perspective, the online survey closes in May. There will be no plan done in May. We're gathering input and listening until May the 4th. There is nothing that will be done in May, just to be clear. But if you look in the RAC document, in the first 10 pages, it actually lists the name and the background of all of the members of the Regional Advisory Committee. And on that committee, there were a variety of representatives from a host of different interests. They don't come to the table largely representing sectors. They bring their personal experience and background. But to your point, there was a gentleman from the forest sector. There was a gentleman from the oil and gas sector. There were a number of people with agricultural backgrounds. The Reeve of Clearwater County at that time was part of RAC. And the government doesn't directly nominate people. The way RACs are typically chosen is people apply to be selected as part of a RAC, and then a selection is made based on trying to find that broad cross-section of interests and experience, but it's not so much sectoral driven, because we don't want you to come just representing your very narrow hat. We want you to bring your experience, and in many instances, it's not only your industrial or your commercial experience, it's your local experience, because you live there, you recreate there, you're part of the government there, in this case, Clearwater County. That's the way RACs are selected and chosen.
Thank you. Cal?
Somebody here, did I see? Could you stand up, please?
Yeah. Hello, my name is Bob. This is for Jason. In regards to the media, each and every day we watch environmental activism happen. It's affecting our businesses. It's affecting our energy sectors. It's affecting our recreation. What will you guys do to trace the money, follow the money to stop and regulate environmental activism. Some of the stuff, they're not happy with anything.
Great question. Some of it is we've been talking about this amongst caucus and as a party, and of course we're going through our policy process, which will take place in May, and there are some conversation on this going forward. And I don't know the exact answer on how to legislate or regulate on it, but we definitely are aware of it and we're concerned about it, particularly large amounts of money coming in and influencing the situation. You know, we took a lot of steps to eliminate foreign money, first of all, a long time ago in politics, and now corporate money and union money in politics and getting it down to the grassroots level. And from what I've seen and learned, we need to do the same thing when it comes to these type of situations. Now, whether or not you need to legislate that on the federal side or provincial side, we just don't know yet. But it's something that's being discussed at a party level for sure. And I will continue to bring that conversation up in caucus as we go forward.
Okay, thanks, Cal. Next.
I just wanted to know, so is the RAC made up of Alberta people, or is this people from all over?
All Albertans. The RAC was selected, and it's regular Albertans was on the RAC committee.
Okay, thank you.
Just to clear up on the RAC in the North Saskatchewan, that was, I think, initiated in about 2012 or 2011, Rick, or 2014, and the report was done 2015. So, they were just selected. I'm not sure of the selection process. There was lots of names submitted, and the government selected them based on kind of diversity, I think, in the communities is how they were selected.
Just a general statement, basically, I'm from Red Deer, Camp Lot out here. I recommend that you all look at the Y2Y website. Look where the people are coming from. You know, most of them aren't Albertans. You know, they weren't born and raised in Alberta. And you know, sit back and I look at that, and I look at their main office being in Canmore. My mother grew up in Canmore. My grandfather worked in the coal mine. My uncle worked in the coal mine. Who can afford to live in Canmore now? Is that the next Nordegg? You know, what does the regular person go to enjoy his time that doesn't have the cash flow that some of these people have, just the average person to drag out his trailer onto Crown land and roll out the awning and have a good time with his family?
Thanks. Yeah, just to reiterate that, since 2015, there's been somewhere between $2.5 to $3.5 million on a budget out of Canmore with Y2Y. So that's where the Love Your Headwaters and the campaigns are that we're against, and we're just a volunteer organization. So it is significant.
Jason here, Safari Club again. This is for the ADM. I have a leaked document from the minister's office. I'm going to share it tomorrow. I'll share it with yourself if you'd like. But this is a question I have for you. Is you say that the public consultation is done May 2nd or 4th or whatever it was. There is no real plan. I have a leaked document from the minister's office that states that this is done, pushed through, and will be finalized in September. What is your comments to that? Because I will be forwarding this document to every organization on this floor.
I can't actually comment on it because I haven't seen it. So, but if you could share it with me, I'd love to see it. But I know from my perspective, our consultation period, as I said, closes on May the 4th. I can't even begin to tell you how long it's going to take us to comb through the information that we get back. So I don't have a definitive timeline to share with you in regards to when we'll have a plan ready or when we'll even be able to prepare a draft. Because again, if we get 15,000 responses as an example, it's going to take us a while to go through those. I can tell you right now though that in regional plans there is a bit of a template. This is our third one. So we do have an outline of what a regional plan would look like because they are consistent to some degree, but in terms of the specifics that go in it, we don't have those yet. That's why we're here.
So can I get you to tell me, you're telling us the transparency in this. I believe what I have is somewhat important to the people in this room. Will you have the minister respond to us and all of us in a timely manner on this?
I can certainly bring it to the minister's attention, for sure.
But that's not guaranteeing the good people of Rocky Mountain House and area a real response to this. Like, I want to know that someone is going to come to this community and answer to these people why their backyard is being threatened and being taken away when I have a documentation saying that it's done, that we're wasting our time here.
Okay. Well, and again, I can't speak for the minister, but I can certainly take information back to her and make her aware of your concerns. And if there's a document that you've got that you think is germane that says this, I'd like to see it, and I'd like to be able to share it back.
So you would respond to me? You can't guarantee the minister would? Will you respond to me and the people in this room?
For sure. Well, to the best I can. But again, I can't make a commitment on behalf of the minister. It's not my role.
Okay, that's why I'm asking if you will respond to me and the good people in this room.
If I can see the document.
Absolutely.
But again,
I'll get it to you. There's no problem there.
But like, I've got to see it first before I can comment on what I can say or what I can do with it.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Now that just highlights, the issues with the government is there's a political path and there's a path that Rick is responsible for, like Rick's department down. He's head of the bureaucracy, and above him the DM and the minister is the political level. And Rick can't speak for the minister. I'm certainly not defending the government, but I'm just explaining the process that, if we're going to hold the minister's feet in the fire, it has to be political with Jason, with social media, and every other method that we can use, right? Rick is following a process. I'm not trying to defend him, but I mean, Rick is following a defined process. The problem is the minister keeps flipping a different process in place. That's our fundamental problem. Cal, next question.
Art Terpstra here with the West Country Harness. I'm a ATV user and equestrian user, and I've seen in my travels that there's need for more education for the users of the West Country. And I wonder, and I don't know who I would really address this question to, but is there a place that all users should be a member of some club that educates those people in how the West Country should be used? And let's face it, when the people come from the cities, they look over this land and they do see how it's used, and that helps them make up their minds about how this should be preserved. And, I ask these questions because I've seen, like in equestrian staging areas, dirt bikes just flying around, and other times dirt bikes going on trails that they're not allowed on. They're closed to that traffic for certain times of the year. I see a lot of horse users tying their horses to trees in some of the best campsites there in the West, and one of the biggest things I see that's wrecking our trails out there is these ATV tires that have like a 3-inch grip, about 5 on each side. Now, you for yourselves, you ATV users, if you're going to go across your lawn, you're not going to use tires like that. And so I think there's a lot of things we as users should address while we can. Thank you.
Thanks for the question. That's why the Alberta Off-Highway 4-point plan is so important. By the virtue of that, everybody, you have 100% participation in a provincial association by virtue of a fee, and that has worked very well in other jurisdictions because everybody becomes part of the solution. Everybody, absolutely everybody is part of it. You got a lot better chance to reach everybody. There's more peer pressure to comply, and it's worked very well in other jurisdictions, and that's why we've been advocating for something along that lines for almost 10 years now. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, my name is Warren Bunch. Just had a question for all the groups. I don't have a ton of free time to research and look up all this information that there's a lot of really smart people up there that spend a lot of time learning and looking. There's a lot of statistics presented by other groups that are very easily accessible. Is there a spot I can go to find all of the statistics supported by science and proven surveys, referenced, documented, and I can share that when I have conversations.
That's a really good question. We have a lot of information, but you know, it could be broadened. If I understand your question correctly, it applies to all user groups. And yes, there's more we could do there. You know, each association tends to look after their own interests and their own information. So you have to slog all over, you know, to find it. And that's actually a really good suggestion. We'll take that and really consider that. And that's the first time we've really thought of that. Cal, over here.
Fred?
Thank you, sir. Fred Nash, the former mayor of Rocky Mountain House. I'm proud to be here tonight, and I've got a couple of observations and then maybe solutions. But one of the things that I sat on the North Saskatchewan Regional Watershed Alliance, and we had many meetings, and from maybe one of the things that I noticed that when I was honored to be the mayor of Rocky, we had a Canada 150 canoe race from Rocky to Nepal, Manitoba. And all the canoeists, they went through the North Saskatchewan and Edmonton, became ill because of the water treatment facility that they dumped into the North Saskatchewan was made most of them ill. So they didn't there's a quick solution to that. If company or cities would put their intake pipe downstream of their discharge, they'd soon clean up their act. But one of the things that I was privileged to get to know a lot of the ministers and the premier and all that, and the mistrust comes from everything from the current government in the legislature. Ask the mayor of Hanna or Waberman and all this kind of stuff. There wasn't one mention of the change of the coal status until it happened all of a sudden. And we're going to see this with this country out here in the West Country, in my humble opinion, because the current government needs a legacy. They need and I don't believe they will last in the next term. But I think they're looking for a legacy that they can say, here what we did. And I feel that we're being ramrodded through here. I believe that as we got to organize, if you look at the facts, the city of Edmonton and Calgary has more MLAs than all the rest of Alberta. So all you got to do is convince the city slickers. And this current government is splitting or dividing the great Alberta province from the rural and the urban. So in my humble opinion, if you want to take a message back to Edmonton, is that the mistrust, the seed of mistrust has been sown by their actions. And we feel that we're being railroaded on this. All I can say is when I see your presentation, I'll go to the web page and go this way. And it should be face-to-face. I've succeeded in success with more face-to-face. So please advise the ministers to come out and talk to us. Thank you.
Cal, there's a couple more over here. Cal, there's a couple more over here. So I take it there's no support for Shannon Phillips Wildland Park in the west of Rocky Mountain House.
Just a general statement for everybody here. This is probably the greatest opportunity we've had to work across all groups, because I've worked with the previous government on projects in the past with 4x4 related trails and stuff, and they'd always pit us against one another, the quad guys, the 4x4 guys, and and the horse. The environmental groups, they don't care at all. They're unified. They don't care who's out there. They want nobody out there. So this is a great opportunity for us to all work together, and doing trips down through the states, we need to get you guys some money because you're managing it well. We just need people and money to keep the good work up. And going into Washington, Oregon, it doesn't matter if I have a truck, if I have a dirt bike or a quad. I pay a fee, I put the same sticker on, and I can use their trails. It doesn't matter that I'm from Canada. we can have tourism come up and apply the same fee to them. It's a general user fee. It's just kind of a weekly thing or an annual thing. So it would be a good thing to maybe consider going ahead to get you guys money you need to keep our trail system up moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Cal. Just let Garrett close. Yeah, just let Garrett close, Garrett and Jason. One more? Okay, one more. One more, last one.
My name is Glenn McDougall. I've dealt in Rocky Mountain House for 44 years, selling the equipment that go out and use this area. There's two common threads as far as what I see here tonight. That's the love for the West Country and a total distrust for this government, and for good reason. These surveys that are put out, as far as I'm concerned, are all geared to take you down a path that the government wants to see. They will get the answers they want, one way or another. That's the way they're designed. I've been a part of this process for 44 years. This process started back, Mr. Shenfield was there at the time, and this started in the basement of the Presbyterian Church, went to the Old Legion at one time. This has been going on for a long time. What's changed is this government, I believe, is what was quoted, wants to leave a legacy, as other governments have done in other areas. So that's my feeling. I think you should be much more forward. The gentleman from the Sierra Club, I think I would like to see what he's got in hand, and I was disappointed with the answer that you cannot respond.
Okay, Garrett, we're going to close here, and then Garrett will have a few remarks, and Jason will close off here. Thanks.
Okay, just really thank you guys. I don't think there's anybody else that truly likes the West Country other than the people that are out there and enjoying it, right? And it's the first time, I mean, we've had meetings and done town halls last year with Castle. But there's one thing I know, that crisis builds community, and tonight we have diverse users up here. It's not AOHVA against fishers, against hunters, against guys who want to hike. We want to work together. We are the recreationalists, and I think we need to come together and work together. That's our backcountry. So I just really appreciate everybody coming together tonight, and we're going to keep fighting.
We'll close off real fast, but first I just want to again get you all to give yourselves a round of applause for being out here tonight on a Thursday night, standing up for such an important issue. Two things I want to close with. First is exactly what was just said. Stay together. That's my biggest message to you today. Horse guys and quad guys and our industry and our fishing and anglers and our hunters and everybody and people that want to use the trails, stay together. Do not let them divide us. That's our backyard, and we have power in numbers. The second I want to do thing is to leave you with some hope. It feels very dire right now. We are not in the exact same situation as our friends to the south in the Castle because the countdown is on. 12 months from now, this current government will have to come back and face the boss at a ballot box, and the signs will go up. So stay diligent, stay together, and let's make sure that we send some people back up there in 12 months with some common sense and make sure we can keep our backyard.
Okay, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for being very respectful and very good questions. And thank you again. Thank you all for coming out for Thursday night.